Hi guys, welcome back. So in my previous lectures we saw something about how to write basic programs in Python, which involves the operators, if conditions and looping statements, etc. So in this lecture we are going to learn about how to write the functions. So what is a function? Function are the set of statements which is designed to perform a specific task. For example, you are doing sum of two numbers. So what I will do is I will write a function to perform the sum of two numbers, and then I will call that function whenever I want in my program. So a typical Python program looks like this. So it has a series of functions. Definition function 1, 2, 3, it goes like this up to k functions. After the function definitions, you have your original program, that is statement 1, 2, 3, it goes up to n number of statements. So the interpreter starts executing the program from statement 1, not from the function, it starts from the statement 1. So all the function definitions that is given above the statement 1 are digested and it will be kept for the future use. So the execution starts from statement 1, and after the statement 1 you may be having a statement which calls the functions which is available on the above the statement 1. So now let's see how to write the simple functions in Python. The standard syntax goes like this. You have a standard keyword called def, def, that is defined. Then you have a function name, that is your own name, you can give any name whatever you want, and then the set of arguments like a comma b comma c or whatever the name you want you can give, then followed by colon. Then in the coming next lines you have a set of statement which is going to be available within the body of the function. Statement 1, 2, 3 goes up to n number of statements. At the end of the function you have a return statement which is going to return some value, or you can return some null value also, that is you no need to return any value, you can just write return with empty brackets also. So after defining the function, I am going to call the function with help of the function name. So the next statement shows like function name, then within the bracket I am going to pass the arguments to the function, that is function name of 1, 2, 3. These are the three values that I am going to pass it to the variables a, b, c. So here the body of the function is indented, that is after the def function name the next statement is going to be given with one tab space. So like that for the next upcoming statements also until the return statement. What the return statement does is the return statement exits out of the function and it returns the value whatever given in the bracket. Now we are going to write a simple function which is going to add the two numbers and it is going to return the sum. So the function is given over here, def, the name of the function is add, which is going to take two variables a, b followed by colon. The next two statements, that is sum equal to a plus b, which is going to calculate the sum of a and b, and it is going to store it in the variable called sum, and then I am going to return that sum, and then I am going to call this function add outside of the function, that is add of 3, 5. Now let's write this program in the editor and we will try to run this program and we will see what output we are getting it. Now this is the program which I have written, that is addition of two numbers with the help of functions def add of a, b colon, and within this I have given the statement sum equal to a plus b, which calculates the sum of a and b, and then it is going to return the sum. Now I am going to call the function add with two arguments, that is 3 and 5, add of 3, 5, and it is going to call this function add of a, b these 3 will be passed to A and this 5 will be passed to B, and the sum will be calculated here and the sum will be returned, and the returned sum value will come and store it in the variable S. Now I am trying to print this S value here, that is print sum is S. Now let's run this program. Yeah, now I will run this program with the help of Python command. Python, my function name is, my program name is function1.py. So I am getting the sum is 8. So my program is, I am passing two values 3 and 5. So it just calculates the sum and it returns the sum here, and I am printing the sum value S here. Okay. Now let's go. Now let's see something about the scope of the names. Names is nothing but the variables. Names within a function have local scope. What do you mean by local scope? For example, I am going to declare a variable called n within a function. That variable is available only within that function. You cannot access that variable outside the function. That is, the value of that variable is available only within that function. So whatever the changes you are making outside the function, that will not be reflected inside the function. Okay. Now let's see an example here. I have written a program def change, and within this there is a variable called n, which is going to be assigned with 200, and it is going to return. Then in the next upcoming statements, again I have a variable called n, which is assigned the value 100, and then I am going to call the function change, and the output of the return value of this change will be assigned to v. Now when I call this function change, what happens is, it will go to the function change, then here within this function I am changing the value of n. Now when I come back to this main program, what will be the value of n? Here n is still 100, because the n that is declared outside the function, that is separate, and the n which is declared inside the function, that is separate. So here the value of n is 200, here the value of n is 100. That is, the name n, that is nothing but the variable n inside the function, is separate from the variable n which is outside the function. Now we will execute this program in the editor and we will see how it works. Now this is my function. I have written a function called change, and within this I have written n equal to 200, and then I have a printf statement. In the main program I have assigned n to 100, and you have a printf statement. Before calling function n values, I am printing the n value, and I am calling the function change, and after calling the function I am printing the n value, and also I am printing the n value inside the function also. Now let's see what happens. Here the n value is 100, here the n value is 200. Now we will run the program and we will see what happens to the values of n. Now I am running the program with the help of Python command. Python, my program name is scope.py. Now what is the output I am getting is, before calling the function n value is 100, that is in my main program, and inside the function I am changing the n value to 200, so the n value is 200. Now after calling the function, that is when I am coming back to the main function, the value is again 100. So the n value which is available inside the function is different from the n value which is available outside the function. Next we will see about how to define the functions. What are the constraints on defining the functions? Here in this example that is given below, there are two functions f1 and f2, and which is going to be called from the main program, that is z equal to f1 of 100 and f2 of 100. Here I have declared both the functions f1 and f2, and then I am calling the function f1 and f2, so it works fine, there is no issue. Come back to this program that is on the right side. Here I have defined a function f1, and then I am calling the function f1 of 100. Immediately I am calling the function f2 of 100, which is not defined. That is defined after the statement z equal to f2 of 100. That is, we are trying to call the function before defining the function. So def f2 of y is available after calling the function f2. So this will not work. So you should define the function before calling the function. I have written both the programs here, that is, here I have two functions, that is f1 and f2. I am going to call these functions f1 and f2, and we will see what happens when you run this program. Now I am running the program, that is python function 2.py, so which gives the output 105 and 110. So that is, both the functions f1 and f2 are called successfully, and we got the output. Now we will try to run the second program, that is calling the function before defining the function, and we will see what happens. Now this is my first program. Here I am calling f1 of 100, so it will call the function f1 and it will print 100 plus 5, that is 105. Then I am calling f2 of 100, so it will print y plus 10, that is 100 plus 10, 110, so that we are getting 105 and 110. Now we will try to run the next program. Here I am going to call the function f1, which is already defined over here, and the next line I am going to call the function f2, which is going to be defined later in the program. Now let's see what happens. Let's save this program and go back to the Python interpreter and try to run this program, python fun3.py. Now see here, the first one I am getting the input, that is 105 is my output of the first function. The second function is not called. The error I am getting is the name f2 is not defined. So from this we understood that the function f2 should be defined before calling f2 here. Okay. So that's why the previous program is working and this program is not working. So let's go back to the PPT. So the last one we are going to see is the recursive functions. The recursive functions are nothing but a function is going to call itself. Okay. So repeatedly the function is going to call itself until some condition is reached. Okay. So the example given below here is the factorial program which is calculated recursively with the help of a function. So I am defining a function called factorial of n. Within this I am going to check for a condition. If n less than or equal to 0, then I am going to return 1. Else I am going to repeat this statement, val equal to n star factorial of n minus 1. So here the factorial function is going to be again called within the function with some other value that is called n minus 1. So when I pass the value of n is 5, then next time the same factorial function is going to be called with the value n minus 1, that is factorial of 4. So it keeps on repeating until the value n less than or equal to 0 is reached. Once it is reaches 0, then it will return the value n, then the value of the factorial is calculated and the value will be returned with the help of the return statement. Now let's try to run this program and we'll see what output we are getting it. Now this is the program for the factorial using recursive functions. So I am defining a factorial function, factorial of. Here I am defining a function called factorial, and within the function I am checking for condition. If n less than or equal to 0, then it will return 1, otherwise it will keep on going to call the function factorial again with the value of n minus 1, and once this condition is reached, it will return 1, and then it will return the value of factorial. Now I am going to call the factorial from the main function f equal to factorial of 5. So this 5 will be passed to this n, and then it will do this function recursively, and then it will return the value to f. Here I am going to print the value of f. Okay. Now I will try to run this program in the interpreter, and then we will see the output. Now let's run the program with the help of Python command. Python, my program name is recursion.py. So the factorial value I am getting is 120. So what is given in the program is factorial of 5. So the 5 factorial is 120. So guys, that's all about functions. With this you will be able to write the basic programs in Python with the if statement, looping statement and functions, and we'll see the advanced functions in the upcoming lectures. Thank you. Bye.